Happy Wednesday. It's Career Blast and a Half. You know, it's my favorite day of the week, Wednesdays. I was actually born on a Wednesday. So there's some truth to this. It's hump day, and we have an incredible guest today. Leigh Felton is a woman that I met through Chief. Yes, another amazing Chief. But more important to you guys is that this topic of responsible AI is something that Leigh has been passionate, committed, and also recruited as a keynote speaker to deliver not only at Microsoft, but also for women in tech and a whole host of other real change makers, because this topic is critical to today, tomorrow, and going forward. Leigh has also been on The Apprentice, so she is no stranger to tough love, and she's going to also bring us some here today, and I am beyond thrilled to death. Thank you, Leigh, for showing up and bringing it real, right?
Thank you so much, Lauren, for having me. This one of those topics I literally could stand on the mountaintop and talk about all day long because it's so important. Not just close to my heart, but it's very important to society.
Absolutely. So we are going to jumpstart this and really get to, this whole kind of, I feel like saying like, it's all fun and games until, something happens. And I think it's important also to really explain, we're all around technology all the time,
Yes.
right? It's like the devices, the this, the that, all the time. But why is AI so unique and different to anything else that we are all using now as part of our almost daily life, right? So
Exactly.
give it to us
Exactly.
straight.
And that is the scary thing to me because we are so accustomed to technology. We use it every day. We've been using, I mean, literally, and I'm almost 50 years old. We've been using it for all of my life. And then especially the new generations, you can't go around without your phone. And we have come to rely on these devices. We've come to trust these devices. I remember when I was in school, in elementary school, I was not allowed to use a calculator.
Right.
So during
Show
my
your work.
math
Show your
classes,
work.
when I was growing up, now it's like not only do you have calculators at your desk, you have your phones, you have everything, you have ChatGPT, you have everything just like giving you all this information. But the issue is, unlike technologies of yesterday, that when you use your calculator, I know if I put in 5 times 5, every single time the answer is going to be 25. With AI and other predictive analytic technologies and machine learning technologies, and I just wrap it all around AI because most people do, but there's a slight difference. But we'll just call it all AI today. When it comes to AI, it is evolving. It is self-evolving, and it is a mechanism that you can't control or see why it's giving you certain answers to certain things. If I can just give you one example,
Please.
so if you think about AI, so there was this test, this algorithm that was put together that says, "Hey AI, can you tell the difference between a husky and a wolf?" And so it just fed the algorithm all of these images, and it turned out that it was about 80% accurate in determining and predicting, is this a wolf or is this a husky? And so, in going through, and as we talk about transparency, which is a huge aspect of developing AI, to say, okay, why is it coming up with certain answers? What does a score mean? It was figured out that the reason it determined certain images were huskies versus wolves is because of the snow in the background.
Mm.
In most pictures, it trained itself to learn that if there is snow in the background, it's a wolf. If there's not snow in the background, it's a husky.
Bring it to us. Explain how this example, right, is more or less the metaphor for how we are assuming that there are that what comes out of the box is what we should use, rely on, etc.
And I wish, and I love when I speak to live audiences because I get to actually engage with the audience and I get to see their faces and I can have them raise their hands. And if I could interact with your audience right now, what I would ask is raise your hand if you think that, these advanced technologies, AI, if it's trying to determine a wolf or a husky, that it's looking at certain eye structures, that it's looking at certain nose, features, that it's looking at how the hair, the texture of the hair, the paws, maybe the teeth, that it's taking all of those things into consideration.
My girl, Karen.
It is, but we don't know what percentage of that versus every picture it was trained on. It just is based on data. If you train it on certain data, that's what it's going to learn on.
Right.
So it's not this, it's actually not rocket science.
So here my girl Karen Blades is screaming it out. So a husky in a New York winter could be categorized as a wolf. Hell yeah. Right? And so what this means for us users is help us. What does this arouse, and what is this kind of like, hey, let me just like point this out to you kind of moment?
To me, and this is my microphone, this is my platform, because I really want people to understand these systems are all trained on historical data.
Mm-hmm.
And not just the biases, there's unconscious biases in individuals in the teams that are building these systems. There's unconscious biases in the large data sets or whatever data sets that are being used to build these models. There's already significant biases that we don't even control or don't want to go in there, that we're already putting into these systems. But then you take historical data, which primarily has impacted, harmfully has impacted marginalized communities. You take historical data and you're training all of these systems, and what you have is a system that is just going to perpetuate the same biases, that's going to perpetuate the same stereotypes that we're trying to move away from. We're trying to say we're evolved from the days of the past, but yet we're using our data from the past to train the knowledge of the future.
So it's like consider the source, right? It's like, and the source is maybe even archaic. I don't want to get to some of these amazing comments and interactions here. Hannah Morgan, so happy to see you. But if we ask it to analyze features to determine if it's a husky or a wolf, we get a better response. So that would take some
exactly that is the exact point, that it really, and it's not about the husky or the wolf, it's about that is the exact point, that it's the systems, and we are putting all of our trust and our faith that what this system brings us is the ultimate truth. The system is only good as the engineers that are training it.
Exactly.
So you're right. If they went to the nth degree and they trained the system on every little aspect of this detail, that detail, and then they actually fed it the test data, and then they actually looked back and said, okay, now what are the results that we're getting? And they corrected those results based on new data and information. Absolutely, you would get much better accuracy, much better data, much better systems. But that's not quite always what's happening, because a lot of these systems, it really is about the data, and it's difficult to get the quantity of data that's needed to train and test these systems, to build these systems. The type of data that's needed is beyond imagination.
Okay, we are like, Shellen, great call. You have to train the model to learn that huskies have certain physical features in their face, right? And then here I am loving this. Time to teach our children how to think different, because this is the future and we need to change that right here and now. Niatu, always so great to see you. So we're gonna steer this conversation in and
if I can just say one quick thing, Lauren, the last point was the most important. It's not about training the models better. I mean, it is about training the models better, but that is just one small piece of it. It's about how we think about these technologies and how we use them as a data point, not as the source of ultimate truth. So, Courtney, thank you so much for that point, because that is the actual point behind this scenario.
Exactly. And so let's also bring this home to this audience, who are in, many of them, career transitions. We're here to talk about, like, we're all using this, right? Like, it's like we got like inundated with this amazing gift, right? We now are saving time, we're writing cover letters, we're doing research, we're like trying all of this stuff. So what do we need to do specifically to hold ourselves accountable, right? Like, how do we even like check ourselves and go, okay, well, wait a minute, like this came out of, chat, and how do I troubleshoot it? Let's just say at 11 o'clock at night when there's nobody else around. What do I do about that?
Lauren, I would say this. If you would trust blindly any content you're fed from the internet as your source of truth to include behind your name, then I would say blindly trust ChatGPT as well. But I don't think there's anyone in here, again, that would raise their hand and that would say anything and everything that comes from the internet, I blindly trust as the truth. We question it and we look for multiple sources. We question it and we use our own expertise. There's nothing that can replace the human expertise and ingenuity that we are intuitively born with and that we, nurture over the course of our lives. There's nothing that can replace that. So if you want to blindly trust something that's just popping up from the internet, it's not a calculator. It's not giving you 5 times 8.
It's not a calculator. And I love our girl here. AI is an assistant, not your professor. And even you want to question your professor, right? So I want to,
and you can even question your professor.
Absolutely. You have, that being said, you have called out some of the things that we, whether you're in career transition or not, need to understand. I think that there are 6 of them, right? Your kind of key concerns or detriments to AI. The first one is deep fakes. So talk to us about deep fakes.
And I think by this time, Lauren, everybody has heard the term deep fakes. Everybody has seen like the Obama video and it's like, right, Obama's singing the song. No, he's not. That is not Obama at all. I even saw one with Tom Cruise playing the guitar. And it was the most amazing. I was like, my gosh, and I knew, and it was written all over there that this is not real. This is not authentic. But it looked like Tom Cruise. It sounded like Tom Cruise, facial expressions and gestures. And deep fakes don't only come in the form of visual and sound. Deep fakes come in the form of what you're seeing online.
That's
so there's
right.
content, right? There's content out there that is completely fake. There is images out there that are completely fake.
I know. I've used an AI for my photos too, right? So like that was a fake, everybody. Like I tried it. Like I'm not doing it again. I didn't like it that much, but it got a lot of like interaction, just saying.
And it's fun. And so it's completely okay if we think about it in terms of, okay, what are we doing with this? Are we having fun with it? Are we playing around? Are we testing things out? That's one thing. And if you're having fun with it, and as we talk about regulation, we think about having to label things, that is one thing. But if you're putting it out there, because not everybody has best of intentions, not everybody has good intentions. There are nefarious actors out there who, for whatever reason, they want to harm you. They want to harm society. They want to harm our systems and, in all of our, infrastructure. So there are people out there who are feeding these systems. They're feeding them as much negative and bad information as possible. And that is part of the data that you're pulling in as well.
Absolutely. Okay. So deep fakes is one of the concerns.
Yes.
For sure. So be aware that buyer beware, user beware. What that means is, like, please, what you read, you're gonna have to test it. you're going to have to cross-reference, right? This makes your job search and your responsibilities greater. I'm not going to like throw any kind of shade at this, but it's important. Because
and Lauren, if they're using, for instance, ChatGPT and these other systems, if they're using them as sources, and a lot of times you can use it in I've tested the limits of some of these systems. You can use it in very creative ways. Just know, you going in there with that data and information for your job search or for your interview, that this is now your name on it.
That's exactly right.
Even if it's inaccurate.
Yes. I am going to go back to this because I love this with from Hannah again. Do we need, we, all of us, to put guardrails in place for ethical use of, yes, of course, it's happening so fast. Is anyone looking at the longer term impact? You're looking at her right here.
Yes.
For one, yes.
There are many people. Many people looking at the long-term impact, and even some of the organizations, as you said, I came from Microsoft, and I started as part of Microsoft's ethical AI program back in 2017, when like literally all of this was new and AI was the thing in movies versus something that was going to really happen. But I'll say two things about putting guardrails in place. Yes, most definitely, there needs to be guardrails in place, but it needs to come from multiple sources. It needs to come from our conscious use of how we're thinking about these systems, how we're using these systems. So the individual consumer, how are you relying on these systems? That is one thing. It needs to come from organizations, so corporate use. And so it is again up to us to put pressure on these organizations and to make them say, okay, let's push back. How are you using my data? How is it showing up? What's the transparency models? How are you making sure that I know when it gives me certain responses, what that means? So it is also the organizations and us holding the organizations accountable for the technologies they're producing out. Then it is regulation. It's very, very important that there's regulation in terms of things that we want to restrict, things that will absolutely getting out of control, like societal surveillance using facial recognition. That would be detrimental to society. Any organization that's able to broadly use in any public space surveillance and AI technologies. And so there's lots of things that we need to do personally, that we need to hold organizations accountable, and also that we need to hold our legislature accountable for, and making sure that they're looking at regulation and the impact of these technologies long-term into our future.
Awesome. So I am putting this up there. Thank you again, Karen. How do we challenge or dispute other things? I'm going to include a number of things, not just deep fakes, inaccuracies. Right. So here you are, you're interviewing for a company, maybe the topic of AI and your aptitude around it is coming up. Maybe that is because it is becoming more and more cost of entry, right? Like, so if you think, oh my goodness, I don't have to learn this, it is going to be a differentiator in your candidacy. So it's not that the AI is going to replace the jobs. The people who understand how to use AI may supersede you in a candidate in a candidate process. So how do we challenge this in a way that puts us in an empowering opportunity, not necessarily pushing to like point the finger, or maybe we do.
We leverage it. We leverage it as a tool. So it's I use ChatGPT. And so I even have in my YouTube channel, I have a ChatGPT is not your friend. It's not your friend. It's technology. Everything that you input into it, it's learning from that. It's just like all technologies that we love and use today. All of these technologies online, they're learning from our data. So they're using us, right, as much as we're using them. And so it's important to remember, it's not your friend. This is not, it's here to help me. No, it's here to just give you data, give you information to understand whether it's on point so it can be better down the line and continuously get better. And the reason it can continuously get better is to help organizations build products that they can charge for. At the end of the day, it's a circle.
An ulterior motive, right?
Exactly.
And I'm with Hannah again. call me skeptical, but I have doubts that there are enough smart people who would question the results and do the right thing. This is like literally, this is what I'm sure keeps you up at night.
It's what keeps me up at night. It's what well, prior to my book coming out, it was like 90% of my focus on LinkedIn and every other forum that I had, every other vehicle that I had is about spreading awareness. And I don't think, yes, there's some people who, even if they knew, what it doesn't really directly impact me, why do I really care? So there's some people, even if they knew, they would do nothing about it. For
Right.
the majority of individuals, it's about awareness. They don't know. And so to me, I find it important. Let's spread the awareness. Let's drive awareness to how these technologies are actually, being used, being trained, and that they don't have all of the information necessary to be smarter than us. So an AI system, anytime someone asks me, can AI replace a chief of staff role? Absolutely not. Because it's only as good as the questions that I feed it. It's only the content that I get back is only as good as me knowing, is it accurate, double checking that, and also putting my own flavor on it. And so, we need to drive awareness. And once people have the awareness, then they get to make the conscious decision. But that right there is the first step.
Awesome. So in our limited time left, I want to just touch on some of these other areas of concerns and places for building awareness. Fairness. I mean, hello, right?
Yes.
Fairness.
There's no such thing as an unbiased. There is no such thing, and I'll repeat it like 500 times. There's no such thing as an unbiased system. It's biased based on the data. It's biased based on the design. It's biased based on the teams that are constructed to build it. It's biased based on the organizations that's using it. And it's biased based on the end user on our side. It's biased based on how we're using it. There's no such thing as an unbiased or de-biased system. And so it's not going to be fair. And we have to understand that. And there's things that we can do to think about how do we mitigate the use of these things and double check and cross-reference, but also for organizations to put mitigations in place and to really think critically about the systems that they're putting out there. And is the system, does it really need to be AI? Not everything, just because we can push technology to its limits, not everything actually should we push the technology to its limits.
Absolutely. The next one, no surprise, right? Privacy and security.
Why is that so? That should be way, way up there. I'm actually, but believe it or not, I'm actually a little less concerned here. If you think about, if people are familiar with GDPR. So what GDPR did, primarily it was in Europe, and that was around people having control over how their data was used online. So that started in Europe. I know there are some organizations that have implemented across all of their systems. And so I believe at the forefront of this regulation that's coming, it's going to be around privacy and security. And so that's what they're thinking about first and foremost. And so I'm not as concerned, but if people had it first, top of mind, privacy and security, and how your data, how your, confidential information, you're feeding these systems, all of this content, how is that being used on the other side? Absolutely, it matters.
Yes. And so Shiana put this in twice, so I have to pay attention. Like, I agree with her, right? Like, who's holding OpenAI, for example, the creators of chat, who's holding them accountable to any of these issues, right? Or are they not? I mean, help us.
Well, fortunately, and I say it with a pause just because a lot of times it becomes what I call the race to the bottom. It's a race who can outdo whom and get the name of top AI technologists. And so fortunately, like I said, I started out, what even got me in the space was Microsoft. in their ethical AI and responsible AI programs. And so, they have those programs in place. And I know deep in Microsoft's heart, it's about doing the right things, but it also is about staying relevant. And so there is going to be this balance that even companies like Microsoft will go through, when they know that they want to do the right thing and they want to combat those biases, but they also know that they have to stay relevant and stay on top of the game. What more concerns me are organizations that have limited resources, that have limited know-how into putting responsible and ethical AI programs and technologies out there. Companies that have shown us over and over again that they really don't care necessarily about the impact of technology on society, but in a lot of ways, it's like, let's stop OpenAI, let's stop ChatGPT, so the rest of us can catch up, and we're not at an unfair advantage. It more needs to be about we don't need to pause a company just to pause it so others can catch up and do more harm. Right? We need to say, okay, continue the development, but for things like OpenAI, that you have these programs in place, we need to hold you accountable and push and question. It's okay to question OpenAI. It's okay to question Microsoft. It's okay to question all of these other organizations. What are you doing? How does it impact this? With some of the data that you're using, how's it impacting marginalized communities? It's okay to push and question it, but I think that is more of what the focus should be on.
Awesome. Oh man. So we talked about privacy, and then the last three: inclusion, transparency, and accountability. Inclusion, transparency. I mean, listen, there's already, everybody knows this, right? There's biases. There's biases in the hiring process. There's biases around age. There's biases around pedigree. There's biases around race. There's biases around sex. There's biases around everything. Now we have another biases. How are we going to overcome biases with respect to inclusion, and how do we have the transparency, and then therefore the accountability around it? This is like, I mean, if I could, I would just run this whole live all day. Thank you, Courtney. We're like, surprised we're on the same page, because that's what she was saying. Does this have to end? I could listen to Leigh all day. Thank you for bringing her to the more, please, more, please, more, please, more, please. Part 2. Yes, we're going to have you back, because as you can see, not only is the chat blowing up, but right now, you're the only voice I know that is really willing to come to the front and say, hey, ho, I'm glad you're having fun, and I appreciate that you are, but there are some really important things that you need to know. And this is relevant not just to people in their job search, managers, people who are making hiring decisions, people who are leading organizations.
And Lauren, there are so many organizations that are using these systems for recruiting. And especially yes, we should all cringe. We should all cringe, because talking about biases, talking about fairness, talking about all of the things that you just asked, that I wish I had the answer for, and I don't. Nobody does. But talking about all of those things, these systems are going through masses and masses of resumes. And just like the wolf example, you have an area code on your, you have your zip code on your resume. It could learn that, and it can learn, hey, we've hired more people from this zip code than from that zip code. How long your name is. Oh, we've hired more people with only 5 letters in their first name versus 8 letters in their, the most minute details can be picked up, and these systems really, and especially schools. Don't get me started on schools.
Okay, so
and ranking of schools and how some of those systems.
I have a way to offer this or spin this as opportunities, because with every shit show, right, somebody is winning. So what does this open up for opportunities for people who are, let's just say, in the privacy area, people who are in the place of inclusion? How do these people benefit so that they can be of service and get paid. I don't mean to do it for free.
And get paid.
And get paid really well, because you are taking this body of knowledge that you may have from this area, let's call it legal and compliance.
Yes.
Right. And now you are partnering it with the needs of what is happening here in the marketplace. So who is in high demand that would find opportunities in this space?
Give it data scientists, but that's a given. So that's not even fair. But if we look beyond that and we get creative, marketers, if you're in marketing and you can start cracking the code to how to leverage this, and you can figure out a way to put that on your resume, and not just putting it on your resume, but showing examples and talking about it. This is still so new to organizations. Those are the individuals they're going to be looking to hire. They're going to be looking to hire someone. And believe it or not, people, like I said at the beginning, people want to do the right thing. And so if you come forthright and say, okay, and I can use these tools, and I, am using them responsibly, and we're questioning them, and we're looking at all of data, and to be inclusive, those things will make a significant difference. I know we're out of time.
It's okay. But I want to make this shout out. Okay, you out there in the hidden job market. Okay, you out there in the hidden job market, meaning you have a skill set that you know that you can bring forward to an organization. And let's just say, I'm going to call it as I see it. There's hundreds of CMOs on the market right now, right? Every single day I get a call from somebody. I'm a marketer. Well, now take that marketing chops and add some serious salad dressing to it so that you are delicious for that person in the marketplace. You're relevant and craveable because you have taken something that we know, find the need and meet it with your area of strengths and expertise.
Yes.
It starts becoming a delicious recipe. So, it's no longer okay to just say you're a CMO. You have to qualify it with also something that is in demand and that meets the market relevancy. So it's not just enough to use that. I think I got off my soapbox for 5 seconds.
Yes, and Lauren, not all, and like I say these days, all companies these days are technology companies. All companies are technology companies.
Right. So
all employees are technologists.
Right. Exactly. Like that's like landline thinking. That's what I call it. Maggie, kudos to you. Bring on the dressing, but make sure it's not ranch. Okay. Awesome. Sorry. I guess I said something. All right. Blue cheese all the way, even though I'm lactose intolerant. So we're getting off course here. So the last two also, transparency and accountability. So all you people out there who are like really been advocating for areas in which companies are, PR, marketing, where else should we be looking, Leigh? Legal, compliance,
recruiting. What it's feeding to you, ads. What it's feeding to you. Yes, all of those things.
What about sales? Because I had somebody in a recent group say to me, why is this relevant to me? How about sales?
Insights, analytics. It's about knowing your audience. I can name a function, HR. Oh my gosh. Everywhere across your people function, everywhere across your hiring, your termination, your onboarding, everywhere across all of those functions. But sales, at the end of the day, sales is about data. It's about knowing your audience. It's about knowing your regions. And there's nothing more helpful than a system that can churn lots of data and do an analysis for you that tells you exactly where to go and what is going to be the appropriate words, phrases, messaging in order to resonate with that side of the community.
That is, again, I talk about the difference between being like meeting expectations and being remarkably different. This is a differentiator, people. I just pointed at you. Sorry about that. But this is like a big thing, both on the, hey, we need to be more aware, and hey, there's lots of opportunities. So I also, please, everyone, there is a link in the chat to Leigh's book called Unlocking Your Inner Chief of Staff.
I have it right here with me.
organizational impact. So that is there for all of you. Yay. I'm glad that you have it.
Yes.
And please find Leigh also on LinkedIn. Hire her for a keynote speaker. I mean, seriously, like this is your person. So I'm so grateful you. I had so much fun. I had a blast. I hope you had a blast. And I hope also everyone here got a really good dose of what you need to know, and also opportunities to seize your skill sets, right? So we're going to sign off. We're going to end the broadcast, but don't leave. Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon and see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Bye.